The idea for this project came to be as a result of the research we've been working on at the Islam Affairs Institute, particularly looking at higher education for refugees in host countries of the MENA region. So we came across several challenges that prospective refugee students face when trying to access higher education in countries like Lebanon, Jordan, Turkey, and Iraq. And among those challenges was the issue of documentation, particularly academic documentation. Some of those young people early on in the crisis did not have access to documents that would prove previous learning. And if they did have access to such documents, these documents were not validated or authenticated by the official parties, and they would not have any possible way to kind of authenticate such documents. And so, as such, institutions of higher education could not accept documents that are not authenticated by the responsible entities in their country of origin. And so that presented a challenge for them to continue their education, or that meant that they required to repeat some years at the university. And so we thought that after a few years of the crisis, this issue would be resolved. But actually we did find out that even after 8 years into the crisis, we still came across young people who did not have documents to prove their previous learning. And so we did some research, and we learned about initiatives that have been going on for the past few years in order to validate the previous learning and credentials of young people who have been forced to migration.
We are very happy to have so many Lebanese higher educational institutions on board in this project, and we hope that this project can also contribute to the local capacity building and help educational specialists and admission officers to learn more about recognition procedures and try to implement the elements of the methods we are working with in their respective institutions. So our experience says that not every person coming from turbulent country might have all the documentation we need as credential evaluators. That's why we implement the so-called interview-based procedures in order to facilitate opportunities also for these persons and give them the opportunity for fair, transparent and accessible evaluation of their credentials. Our experience says that candidates who go through the interview-based process see this process as an empowerment, see this process as the possibility to explain what kind of educational background they have. And they have also the opportunity to reflect on what kind of contribution they might come with.
As an admission officer, in fact, we needed to interview the students, Syrian students mainly, to know their qualifications and if they are applicable to resume their higher studies or not. The main purpose is to issue a passport for the qualifications of each of the Syrian students so that they are able to resume their studies at any university they would like to, participating in the same project. That's why we need to open the doors for those who are unable to get their papers so that they are not blocked somewhere. The procedure goes as follows. First, the student got to fill an application. Okay, later on, according to his application, we invite him for a certain interview. We call it structured interview. And then later on, we decide about his situation, and then we fill what we call a final statement to decide if we can issue him a passport or not. It's very helpful for the Syrian students. It's really helpful. And to me, I find it like whenever someone shows he wants to study, we have to help him. We have to find a way to help him regardless, because education is for all. This should be taken into consideration.
The project started with an invitation from Dr. Hana Al-Ghali when she tried and involved LIU with the Ministry of Education and I think other counterparts, or one counterpart from one of the universities, to be involved in this piloting project. And this was no surprise because we were involved in many Syrian projects at the local level and at the European level with Erasmus. Every project starts with a concept. The concept is very interesting. The concept, at least, is appealing. Yes, it might go forward, and that's why Personally, at the level of my status as a dean, I would definitely love to have the University of LIU be piloting this project, which I'm very enthusiastic about.
اليوم كان عندنا استكمال للبروجرام يلي تعرفنا عليه أول يوم بالAUB يلي هو دمج السوريين بالتعليم العالي اللبناني يلي الناس يلي ما عندهم ورق. حقيقة نحن اليوم كان عندنا انترفيوز مع 4 طلاب مشان يتابعوا بهذا البروجرام أو يستفادوا من الباسبور الأكاديمي اللي ممكن تعطيهم إياه نقود ويكون هو مفتاح لهم تيكملوا دراستهم وين ما كان راحوا بالعالم أو بالوطن العربي. هيدا الباسبورت ممكن يفيد أكثر الناس يلي اجوا من سوريا وأبداً ما قدروا يحصلوا على العلامات. يعني هيدا فكرة كتير حلوة بتشكل للطالب يلي عنده ورق رايحة بتشكل له باب ينطلق منه وما يوقف، فتح طريقه وقادر يوصل فيه لأبعد حدود ولأي بلاد. يعني هيدي البنفيت للستودنت أكثر. في منهم طرحوا تركيا يعني بس كانوا خايفين من الكتير كتير بعيد يعني مثل كندا امريكا انه ما حسينا ولا حدا فيهم انه بده يعني كانوا حابين يضلوا بالوطن العربي.
We have many people, we have many applicants who are considered to be immigrants. We have many Syrians, we have many Iraqis. In addition to these, we have candidates from countries in turmoil, in countries in crisis. We have many people who are unable to bring their papers, to give us their paper on time, which might delay the process of equivalence. We are always interested in finding alternatives, to find solutions for these people and to make our job faster.
So we are not trying by any means to take the role of the legal entity that provides recognition of credentials, but we are trying to facilitate the work of such entities, institutions of higher education in the process of recognizing previous learning in order to facilitate access to higher education and provide a pathway for young people who have been deprived of opportunities to further continue their education.